Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing? Stephen.
Doing really good. Nice new intro. Nice. I like it. Good rollout.
Hey there, Vex. The first time on my show.
Oh,
And unfortunately, I have a migraine and I'm very cold, but the
Oh,
show must go on. We got to do it for the vine, right?
right.
That's right. Yeah. Pain is temporary. YouTube is forever.
Exactly. That is a beautiful intro, though. I really do
good.
enjoy that. Yeah,
Thank you.
spot on.
Thanks. And of course, the Sasquatch is in the house.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for having me on again. And one of my favorite movies of all time, favorite books of all time. So I'm very happy to be on the panel to discuss. A lot to talk about.
Yes, a lot to talk about. So yeah, the To Kill a Mockingbird. The director is Robert Mulligan.
hmm
Pretty good. And writers are Harper Lee and Horton Foote. So, and Harper Lee is the writer of the book too.
Right.
In case nobody knew that.
Yeah.
So,
Screenplay by Horton. Title sequence by Stephen Frankfurt. I don't think this has got to be one of the earliest title credits for a title credit. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
well, the guy
Yeah.
designed the initial title credits, and this guy gets a title credit for it. That's got to be pretty new. I don't remember that happening before 1962, but I could be mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's set in 1932.
Yes,
Mhm.
in
It's
Alabama. Yep.
Alabama. Yep.
Robert Mulligan. I'm actually not familiar with any of his work. Is he a notable director or?
He's. I haven't seen it. It doesn't look like I've seen any of the other
'Cause
stuff he's done.
Even for like Gregory Peck, like even though he's a big name, this seems to be probably the largest production he was in because he won an Oscar for this one, and I think this also won Best Picture the same year as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a powerhouse approaching this film. There's no way they wouldn't have given him this role if he
Gotcha.
wasn't already. But for an actor in
Okay.
that time period to take this onto their shoulders must have been a
Mhm.
pretty heavy task. He could have blown his whole career if this wasn't played right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. This would have been a very easy adaptation to muffle up, and I
Mhm.
think who did you say adapted the? So hold on, you said Harper Lee is credited for the writing. Did she
Yeah. Harper Lee and what's the other guy's name?
Did she pitch in for
Horton
the
Foote. Yeah.
screenplay?
I don't know if that's credit for the screenplay or it's on IMDb.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's for the screenplay or the book.
Okay. I know she was on set for some of the production, right? But yeah, I agree this one would have been easy, but they did a spectacular job adapting this even though I think there was a lot they left out comparatively, but even then, I noticed that compared to like the first so I've only seen this movie twice now, right? But compared to
You
Yeah.
too much information for
yeah,
Steven.
Ransom just fucked off. Okay. um, compared to the novel, I found that the movie actually focused a little bit more on Atticus, where
Language.
You
sorry,
knew it was coming.
sorry, my bad. Um, so where was I? Oh yeah, they put a lot more focus on Atticus in the film, whereas in the novel he was more of a supporting character to whatever Scout was going through at that point in her life, right?
Right.
I recall reading too in some of the trivia that a lot of critics were unhappy with the voiceover that you hear just a handful of
Mm-hmm.
times. I thought it worked perfectly fine because even when you read
Yeah.
the novel, it's the same way. It's Scout telling the story from
Right.
when she's older. The first paragraph alone is like the summer of yada yada yada.
Right.
So
I think
Sure.
it worked fine.
mhm. I didn't have any problem with it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just looking here, the only thing I recognize is the Rat Race. Was Robert Mulligan?
Mm. Yeah.
I didn't see that one. So he was a relatively unknown director, then we'll say.
Yeah,
Interesting, interesting. I also know that this was Robert Duvall's official debut, which I didn't realize until like 20 minutes
yeah.
ago.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah,
I thought, yeah,
it's wild seeing a very young Robert Duvall.
it is.
It is.
I forgot about that, and he threw me off at the end. I was like, "Oh, that's Robert Duvall." Hey,
Right. And I also didn't know that he's related to Robert E. Lee.
mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, he can. He even has some relation to George Washington as well, which I think is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's
He
wild.
he also owns like a property in Virginia that was the site of like several Civil War battles, and he regularly finds like relics and stuff on his
Wow.
property. And there's even been a handful of like period piece films and
Mm.
TV shows that have been filmed on that property too.
Yeah,
Under
he's
his,
played Robert E. Lee too.
that's wild.
Yeah, it is pretty
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't hit me until I looked at the cast like an hour ago that was Robert Duvall. It didn't hit me the first two times
Mm-hmm.
I watched it either.
I mean, he doesn't have a single line in it, and he shows up for a brief, like what, 5 minutes at the end.
Not even.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a flash really but that makes him, I think, one of two surviving cast members now of this entire, because everyone else has passed.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Stephen. I don't know what happened to Stephen, but
When he comes back, he'll come back.
he will. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into this.
All right.
So this opening segment too of her, opening the little box and digging through all the little trinkets and coloring.
Yeah, this was good. They did a good job at that opening segment. It's like Steven said before, before the show, you're getting into her mind here. You're seeing all these little things that you come to find out later on how they acquired them, and you just get in the mind of this kid right away. You hear her kind of whatever she's singing or like humming in the background and coloring, and just kind of they do a great job. It's a slow pacing kind of shot. And I always say, when you know it's going to be a good movie, just if the title sequence alone is grabbing you, and you're just like, okay, this is interesting. It's shot beautiful. It's a very innocent kind of thing. Because if you have read the book going into this, you kind of, get that anyway because of, it's coming from the child's point of view. But if you haven't even read the book, it just really sets up the story very well. Mm-hmm. And it just grabs you right away. So you're like, okay, I'm in this. I got to see where this goes now.
This is actually sorry. Go ahead, Jacob. Go ahead.
So it shows you the time period it's in. This guy's had him do some legal problem for him, and he's paying him back with food and other whatever he can.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So this, like, the movie opens up actually, like, this is like chapter 3-ish of the novel. So they skip quite a bit, but even then you see the foundation, like you said, laid out really nicely, just with that very unique opening sequence. And then this brief interaction between Mr. Cunningham and Atticus here, right? Man, this film adaptation was just...
It was fantastic.
It was, seriously, it's absolute. Anyone who has not seen it, I highly recommend it. Hey, Steven, do you want to join back in?
Yeah, I was going to say. He couldn't take all your energy, Vex.
Oh my God, I'm so low energy today.
your energy blew his phone up.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right though. It's a great way to open the movie. The novel was fantastic, like you said. Where this jumps in right away, like to chapter 3, like you said. So it's great because it shows you the time. It shows you that he was respected. but he was such a nice guy. He was humble, but he was important. And so for him taking payment in his food, and then how he explains it to her as to why. She's a kid. Like she's a typical kid. She's going to ask questions. She's curious. And yeah,
this guy is, he's having to pay this way, and it's humiliating for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like tells her to not, come get him when this guy comes over, to just let him leave his payment and go.
He might be embarrassed by it. Yeah.
It's it just goes to show you the difference between how a child's mind works over an adult, because she has no life experience. She's just innocent. She's like, oh yeah, he would love to say hello to you, and what, and then he's like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea, because he's embarrassed.
This is what also sets it up really nicely, because at least when you read the novel, it's like, oh, it's easy to read that they're setting up this is from a child's perspective. But 100%. To do that into a film, like they've already set that tone very nicely for you from the get-go without having to do much at all.
Yeah.
And then they have this interaction as well where she asks, if they're poor and whatnot, which was... Yeah. This actress was fantastic too.
She was great.
She was exactly how I pictured Scout. Even the kid that they picked for Dill as well. That's exactly how I pictured Dill. Like they were seriously spot on with the casting here.
Yeah.
I love how I'm not coming down from the treehouse till you play football for the Methodists.
Yeah. I'm too old. Yeah, that was great.
And he's just typical dad. He said, I can't play for him. I'm too old.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm not coming down till you say it. And he's like, okay, have fun with that.
So now she's just like watching him go to work. And then this is Maudie Atkinson. There we go, because she's got the white camellia flowers right outside, and that was always a big point of interest in the novel as well.
Yeah.
And then this is also now where you get the story about Boo Radley, because Jem's looking out over at the Radley place, right? Because it's a little bit rickety and it's down the road and whatnot. And they're also going over like how, you shouldn't say those things to your dad. Like he's one of the strongest men you'll ever meet. It's like, well, he won't even get me a real gun. He'll just get me a BB gun.
Yeah, he wants his own weapon, of course, and that comes into play later. But and then the neighbor comes, who's staying with his aunt for the summer?
Aunt, yeah. Oh God, what was it? Rachel. Not Maudie Atkinson. Oh God, I forget her last name. But yeah, this is her nephew. This is Charles Baker Harris, or Dill.
Dill.
Call me Dill.
I'm 7.
He did us. Oh my! Like line for line, he took from the book, like introducing him. He's just like, I'm young, but I'm old.
Yeah.
He nailed that line. Absolutely nailed it. This kid is fucking ugly though. Now that as an adult, I have no. Sorry, I'm not used to the censored streams. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's.
This man is not a very attractive adult, we'll say.
There he is.
There he is.
Holy Hannah. Great googly moogly. Sorry about that.
You're all good, Mr. Ransom.
That's okay,
You're all
Ransom.
good.
You're good.
We took up the mantle for you.
No worries. I mean, it's just I'm waiting. I'm like, really? What the hell's going on? It's like service in Los Angeles. Did they just shut everybody off? Like, this isn't gonna work. What the heck, man? No notification, no nothing. Anyway,
did AI shut you off?
Chat GPT.
Dude, my mind immediately spiraled into tinfoil hat thinking. I'm like, here we are discussing one of the most, cinematically divisive films to date, and I get cut off mid-sentence and I can't get back. I'm like, did the world end outside my window? What happened here? So bizarre. Anyway, enough of that.
Yeah.
Where were we?
We just met Dill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, deal. And he's like, what was this? Something about his daddy. And
Yeah, I wanted to bring up too that this whole discussion, these initial steps into the material of the story, we're discussing fathers and what fathers should be, right?
Mhm.
He won't play on the football team, and he's like, "Come on now, come on down, have some breakfast. It's a good one, got hot biscuits," and
Mm-hmm.
trying to beg him and compromise him out of the high tower of his little tree house. And then he finds out this kid doesn't even have a daddy, and the conversation switches to, well, gosh, man, here I am hassling my daddy, and this kid doesn't even have one.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, chill it, Scout. It's like, chill it. Don't shame anybody. Don't shame people.
Yep.
So it's like, this is a lot of ground they're covering, just getting the sense of how ethical these children are and how aware and intuitive they are as well.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So they see this, and he's the meanest man in town.
And I absolutely adore that she just changes Scout's shirt. Like, no dialogue, no conversation, just changing her shirt. Just take the shirt off, put a new one on. No discussion at all. It's just, we're changing the shirt, girl.
And she's like, okay.
The whole time, Atticus is still walking down the street back to work this whole time while they're having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, this is the Radley place. There we go.
Yeah.
The giant mangled tree in the front and everything. I gotta say, I felt they didn't get the look of the Radley place down very well, in my opinion. I think it because Harper Lee was very explicit in how decrepit and creepy this house looked, and this actually looks fairly clean and put together. So this is one of the few knacks I have with this movie. Is they didn't capture, especially since we don't see Boo Radley till the very end of the film, anyways. So in setting him up as like a red herring antagonist, I don't think they did a very good job.
I love how the Jim here is talking about Boo, and like he's over 6 feet tall and got a big old scar on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid's, getting more and more creeped out. And then his aunt grabs him by the shoulder.
Yeah. Freaks him out. Yep.
Yeah. I love it. He's like, you're puny for a 7-year-old. He's like, I may be puny, but I'm old.
Yeah.
So
don't go near that house. There's a crazy man that lives in there.
Mm-hmm. This is where they tell the story about what he did and why the hospital, and then locking him up in the courthouse jail, and then stabbing his dad with the scissors in the leg and all that stuff. And
yeah, I love that he was just doing arts and crafts, and you're getting your first inclination of what is this author's notion of prejudice and oppression of either creatives or mentally unstable or handicapped people or whatever. And how does the town feel about it? And they're just like, good thing they locked him up because he's a crazy, he stabbed somebody. He's done. You can take him out of public circulation, period.
No,
this is Mrs. Dubois, which I don't recall them diving too much into the relationship that she has with Jem here. It's briefly glossed over, but they don't dive into it all, because his relationship with Mrs. Dubois is what ultimately turned that's the transition that Jem makes from boy to man. It's not what happens later on at the courthouse. It's this understanding who Mrs. Dubois is, because she's this old, mean, kind of insensitive and racist woman that just hounds everybody in the neighborhood. And for the life of him, he can't understand why his dad offers this woman any respect. So I thought that was actually one of the more underrated parts of the novel that people don't recognize, is because Jem becomes a totally different person in the second half of the story, and it's because of this interaction.
Oh,
yeah.
I was marveling at the idea that her name, with a little bit of acoustic tweaking, could quite literally be the boss. And she's an old Confederate, so in this story, that takes a lot more precedence than just a tongue-in-cheek joke. I mean, she acts like the boss. She treats everybody like she's the boss, right? Head mama of the plantation,
Of the
so
area.
to speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how Atticus here just totally diffuses her by overly complimenting her.
But this is why
like
she likes him
killing
so
with
much,
kindness.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He calms her down
Flattery.
fast. Yep.
He's like, good day.
You have a beautiful garden.
She's like, well, they're not as good at looking as they were last year. Oh, I have to disagree about that one. Just so charming, just classic charm.
Oh, yeah, this is the conversation they have about the watch and how it's going to get handed down to the son.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, what about me? What do I get? And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. They talk about inheritance, and it's great that she asks. It's like, well, okay, I get it. That's for the boy. The boy gets dad's watch. What about the girl? Because I know I got a mama. And what did she leave me? Did she leave me something so that I can get an inheritance too? And he smirks. He's like, you're such a clever young lady. It's so obvious that she's very intelligent and very free, right? The only thing holding her back is the world around her.
Right.
So very potent female character in this, in my opinion.
Yep, agreed.
Definitely a little kid, because everything that comes into her head comes out, out of her mouth.
Yeah.
So she doesn't
No
have
filter.
that filter yet.
Yeah, and then he tells her what she has a pearl necklace, and then was it a ring or a ring and a pearl necklace from the mom?
I would imagine the engagement ring or wedding ring.
Yeah.
Or both, depending upon, I forget. Back then, it was a little weird how the engagement ring didn't exist, so to speak.
Right.
Or the wedding ring didn't exist, depending upon which faith. There was a combination or one or the other, but yeah.
So this is the doc now coming to visit Atticus after the kids have gone to bed, right? Because I think this is where he finds out that he's got a case for him, and it's Tom Robinson thing. Is this the scene?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and just before this too, he's just put them to bed, right? And then he goes out on the patio just before the judge shows up. And he's sitting out on the patio, and the two kids are having their little conversation before they, fall off to sleep. And he's kind of eavesdropping on their little conversation before they pass away, right? Before they go to bed. And it's almost like, go sleep.
That's a different movie, Steve.
Different. Sorry about that. But it's just this notion of him overwatching. There's a sense of like the wise old father, or like God is always listening. That kind of there's that feel to this Atticus character. They're setting up some really, really heavy beats in the beginning of this film.
Yeah, because the kids are talking about the mom, and she's saying, "Do you miss her? What was she like?" And very, very innocent moment between a brother and a sister, and then he's just kind of like,
Scout actually asks him, like, you were about my age, right? And he's like, yeah, I was about your age. And she's like, well, I'm pretty clever, so you were pretty clever too. And then he starts asking her, like, if you were able to think the way I think, then you were pretty clever back then as well. So, you know what I mean? Like, she's just trying to match herself against his wits as well, and the knowledge of her mom. Just good stuff.
Yeah. It's deep.
So now here they're just like the summertime. They spent the summer like reenacting movies and stuff like that, right? And then I think this is where they get the tire, if I'm not mistaken. Is it this scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this actually her in the tire rolling? Was this an actual shot that they had?
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all.
I would probably say so.
I recall they very purposely zoom into that shot. That's why, to make it obvious that it's her. But yeah, they got nothing else to do, so they're rolling this tire, and the tire ends up going to the Radley house. And they're like, Scout, Stop being a wuss. Get up.
Yeah,
You
I
should
mean, they
realize
don't really
where
sell
she
it
is.
here, but you get the impression that she hurt herself more than the camera lets on.
I
Right?
was
She's
Right.
shaking
thinking
her
more she's
head. She got a
dizzy,
little
right?
knocked.
Yeah.
Hmm?
She's dizzy is what I got, right? The
Yeah,
rolling,
Yeah,
that
rolling.
yeah.
too.
Yeah. See, this Radley house doesn't look all that creepy. Shield wall.
That's
Fuck
true.
them.
Yeah, throw the
Oh
kid
my
in there.
god.
It'll be
Jesus.
fine.
I'm just gonna mute myself for a little bit.
Okay.
This isn't MMM, okay?
I gotta tone it down. Yeah. Screw them kids, basically, right? Because this is the same era of film where we had all the child actors smoking and being, was it shot up with methamphetamines and all this stuff
Yeah.
to get them to stay awake.
Oh,
So
Yep.
goodness.
yeah, if you was it? There's a couple books and there's also a documentary on who's the girl that was in oh my god, Wizard of Oz. Who's
Right,
the actor?
Julie
Julie
Andrews.
Andrews.
Not Julie
Oh,
Andrews.
Julia
Judy Garland.
There
Garland.
we go. So when she was part of that set, like they would basically starve her, so she'd eat almost nothing on the set, and they would just have her pumped up with cigarettes to keep her, like, I guess, filled, we'll say, right? And then they would pump her full of essentially meth to keep her awake on set long enough.
My
And
goodness.
that lifestyle, yeah, of being a child actress like that ended up damaging her so much that she had really severe drug problems later on in life. She had severe health problems as well. And by the
Mhm.
time she had passed away, she was actually homeless,
Hmm.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's too bad.
So it's
God.
like this is still like within that same era where like child actors were really taken advantage of, I guess, in a slightly different way than they are today. But
Back then in Hollywood, child actors and actresses and child actors and actresses, as well as adults, were taken advantage of as much as any other employee on the planet. Okay, let's try and phrase it that way, because it wasn't like this was only going on in Hollywood. Okay, and doctors were prescribing all kinds of wacky stuff back in 1962. So, yeah, while
And
smoking a
too,
cigarette and writing the prescription out.
a lot of the stories written are the actor playing the kid is actually a lot older than
Yeah,
there's
that is true.
that as well.
the character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that the kid who plays Dill is probably physically handicapped. There's something about his physicality that seems to suggest that he might have been shorter for his age than even he's saying in the movie, but that's casting for you.
Yeah.
So now they've
So,
snuck
yeah,
out to the courthouse and they're just kind of like spying in, because I think they also understand that the doc had come to see Atticus last night
Mm-hmm.
as well about something, right?
Yeah, the kids overheard the conversation.
So they
their
called
bedroom.
the judge Doc.
No, it's two different characters. There's Judge Taylor,
Okay.
right? Oh, was it Judge Taylor that came to visit him and not
No,
the
that's
doc?
who
No,
came
it
to
was the
house,
judge
yeah.
in the movie. It was the judge.
Okay, it's okay.
Right.
Mhm.
My mistake, because he ends up conferring with the doctor later on.
Yeah.
Yes, other things.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The doctor's the one who shows up also when the mad dog appears as well, right?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the same character.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I love that these three kids, like the movie is slowly setting us up. I can't speak to the novel because I just don't have enough conscious memory of the novel itself. But in the movie, they're setting up so many parallels that the kids' awareness and the public's awareness of the nuts and bolts of what's actually going down here, and how the kids never really hear all of the ins and outs of all the details either, is much like the way the public is coming to this story as well. It's like, I'm not really sure I understand exactly what you guys are talking about here, so I'm going to get up on somebody's shoulder and see if I can take a look inside and see what's going on.
Mhm.
And it's that same kind of parallel. And the adults are all acting weird. They don't normally act like this, so something is definitely strange.
Mhm.
They did a spot on job, actually. Like to relate it back to the novel, no, like they are filling in that gap perfectly in this, because this is exactly how Scout describes it. Is she doesn't understand what's going on. They're all really curious about what's happening. They know that there are some good things and bad things in the world, but they don't understand the complexity or depth of it, right? So
Mhm.
they did a really, like, this is another way that they did a fantastic job of translating this into
Into
film,
the movie.
because
Yeah.
you still get all of that emotion coming through. You
Mhm.
still under, like you said, Steven, we're also just coming into this as the audience.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of audience members that are just 9 to 5 in it,
Mhm.
mom and pop in it, raising those kids, keeping a roof over their head, putting food on the table, and going to work every single day. So this
Mhm.
is all new news for them. They've never heard the story, or they read the book, or they've heard conversations in the newspaper, and who is this Martin Luther King character anyway, and so on and so on and so on, right? Like,
Mhm.
all of this stuff is happening in real time, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
this movie is discussing it. But we're still coming to this as children for the most part. We don't know
Yeah.
what's going on here.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So enters this guy.
Oh, this guy.
Bob Ebel.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, this is what took me back, and I forgot because it's been a while since I've, well, like I said, read the book and watched the movie, and I was like, wow, the language they used back for this in 1962. I was like, this is, yeah. I mean, it just kind of, I was like, wow, I just forgot, and I was like, wow, they actually used that word in the
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, they did. And I remember in the book, I was like, wow, yeah. So, like I said before, it was way ahead of its time. This movie, it was
This
really
is why the book is
pushing boundaries.
also, taken out of circulation now, because
Yeah,
all of
which
those,
is
but it's the context
ridiculous.
that matters. It's what
Yeah,
everyone forgets when they keep putting this book on ban lists
yeah.
and everything. The
Mm-hmm.
context really
It's
matters.
ridiculous that they do
Yeah.
that because, yeah, like you said, for what it's actually about, just you can't. Yeah, the meaning behind it is so much more beneficial than just a word. It's like it's how you going to
And
educate the
it's
public if you just keep taking the stuff out of circulation.
right.
Right.
Right. It's not to educate the public. It's to
No.
keep the public stupid.
Exactly.
They don't want people to think for themselves. And
Mhm.
Yep,
Yep.
it's true.
If you remove all the street markers and all the mile markers, how are you going to give directions on how to get to the future?
Yeah.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're
right.
taking away all our benchmarks. Even if this thing is entirely wrong, at least we can start a conversation from here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Use this as a reference point. Don't
Yep.
take away our reference points. This is
Yep.
navigation. It's like, where the
Yeah.
hell's the pole star? You going to
Even
take
if
the
it's
pole star out?
the worst thing, like Mein Kampf. I mean, that's toilet paper in my opinion. But don't go destroy it.
No.
We need
Please.
to know how
Right.
evil people can get.
Yeah.
Yep.
Specifically, this guy actually wrote it down for us. Let's at least show enough respect to
Mm-hmm.
use it as proof of evil.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, even then, it's like the use of the word in this, like they show, I think there's two sides of the coin to using this language, which again is also like completely forgotten when we refer to it in modern times now. Like
Hmm.
Bob Ebel says it in a negative way,
Mm-hmm.
but when you hear like Scout say it throughout the movie, as well as, I don't actually, does she say it in the movie at
She
all?
said it one time.
Yeah.
I think she asked
Okay.
him a question later on with the word. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when she says it in the novel, it's not so much that it's meant to be a slur when she says it, it's because she doesn't know any other word to call them by.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not she doesn't understand that there's a negative connotation, and I think this is like a dichotomy of language that people seem to
Yep.
forget, that there's more than one infliction, more than one use
Right.
for a word, even
Yeah.
when it
Mhm.
comes to things like this.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a specific moment. We'll get to it when we get to it. This scene. I'm not really
Yeah. I
sure.
love
This
scene.
whole Boo character,
Mhm.
what's his name anyway? I forget his last name, but
Radley.
Radley, Boo Radley, and his father.
Mhm.
I'm not really sure I understand exactly what Lee was getting at with this character, but at the same time, it kept coming home to me of a mysterious, allegedly dangerous person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all that this represents. And the idea that the father used to chain up Boo is
Mm-hmm.
indicative of what history tells us was done during slavery. So there's a parallel as well there. I mean, there's a lot of parallels that come to nothing, but seem to be leading towards this conclusion of don't be afraid of the shadows until you know what's really going down here, kids, like that kind of thing. But I can't
Yeah.
really wrap my head around it. This is a really important part of this
Well,
movie.
it's also this time period. Mentally ill people were looked down on and put away. I mean, put in an asylum to get rid, to keep them out of. Families were very, what's the word? Looked down on for having a mentally ill person in their family. So they just locked people away pretty much.
I think there's some correlation, though. I didn't figure this out until I rewatched the movie, though, with Boo Radley. It just kind of hit me as more of Scout's version of the world, how there's all this mystery and danger, and she learns about this character. But it also has a lot to do with the town and what's going on with Robinson and then Boo Radley. And he kind of represents the town's past as during and after this trial. How it's the inequality, the racism. Boo Radley to me kind of symbolizes that aspect of the town before, and then Robinson is kind of what happens after, like showing how, not progression, but like how Atticus kind of stood up for what he believed in. So I kind of see, if that makes sense. I kind of see it as like Boo was the town before, and then Atticus is representing what comes after now. Not that things change immediately, but more of like, okay, this is some progress at least. Like we're kind of maybe getting away from what we knew. So
to add on to that, I actually always I see the historical and societal references in Boo's character, but to me the bigger symbolism was always this is a representation of how Scout actually becomes an adult. There's this childish idea that this is a monster that lives down the street. And as an adult, we know that monsters don't exist, right? And this entire scene that plays out with the Cabbage Patch and everything, it's just, this is now bringing a reality to that like childhood monster that you have in your mind. But then by the end of the film, you recognize that it's just a man. He might look a little bit different. He might talk a little funny, but it's just another man at the end of the day. And this is, this is just
it's also showing the childhood monsters, that are not real, and showing them what real monsters are.
Exactly.
The whole don't judge a book by its cover thing, and
and it ties in with the trial too, because Tom Robinson is shown to be this monster that had allegedly, raped and beat this young woman and all this stuff. And it's, the monsters you expect aren't really the real ones that are out there in the world, kind of. So Boo Radley was more symbolic of that to me. And even just like, I think they touch on it a little bit here, but like in the novel, it's like he keeps leaving trinkets in the tree outside of his property for the kids. And this is the same tie back to, how you're a kid and you just kind of fixate on things that don't really matter. Like it might be a pen, or like, it's just like stupid little things that really shouldn't matter. You fixate on them.
Right.
And Boo has
the artifacts of mystery, so to speak.
Exactly. And Boo has that childlike innocence to him as well, which speaks to the children, right? So he's always acted as like that connection that actually finally kind of like pushes them through the doors of reality.
Yeah, that's how he can relate and bond to the kids, is by
yeah. And I love this. They're out there in the backyard, and then there's a shot, and they're like, what's going on? There was a prowler, and they're just standing there. We weren't there.
And I totally love how they never address it, but you could tell that Atticus knows it was them the whole time.
Yeah, he's not stupid.
Yeah, I mean, that he's talking to the guy who shot the gun, and he's like, "What did you shoot at?" And he's like, "Your boy was in my backyard. Dang it!" You can totally hear that conversation happening, but they didn't witness it. This whole little adventure, I can't get over how there's like these layers and layers and layers of adventure built into layers and layers and layers of adventure. Like that little mini adventure is telling us more about the story than the whole story all combined. She's trusting that the gem's going to be back, that Boo isn't going to kill him. Then she hears a shot and she keeps counting anyway. I mean, it's like she is right on the edge of almost a heart attack. She's so scared. So it's like there's so much going on in this movie. It's great. And Jimmy, this leopard pattern dress, Maddie. I mean, for heaven's sakes, young lady.
That's what I first saw this and I was like, is she wearing leopard print? What in the world?
It's great.
But if you look, it shows it one time up close and it's actually flowers, but it looks like leopard print.
It totally looks like a leopard print.
It's like, I didn't know they used leopard print in the 30s.
Yeah, I would imagine that would have been seriously risque back then. But
yeah, probably.
Who knows? This scene, it just tickles me deeply. The whole thing.
So now Aunt, oh my God, what's the aunt's? Not Catherine. Is it Catherine? The aunt has come to visit now, right? And she's just like, Scout, you need to be more of a lady, right? See Jeff's laughing at her there.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good shot.
Right? This is now like, again, we've skipped a whole lot of the novel here because the aunt doesn't really show up until the halfway point. So, but even then, it's just, even though we've skipped all of that, they've still, again, the screenwriters have done a phenomenal job of still painting the tone exceptionally well and getting us to already to connect with these characters with very little happening. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, this is so.
So what would the conversation be that, with between Atticus and Maddie? Like, would you mind coming over for a piece? She's going to be going to school the first day, and I'm not really sure how to handle a young lady, and would you mind offering a feminine opinion on the subject? Come down and have breakfast.
That was
with us?
that was pretty much what happened, right? It's like Scout's now growing up, and Atticus recognizes that, okay, I can't treat her the same way as Jem because this is not a world that allows girls and women to be treated that way, right? And she's never known her mother, right? So she needs someone to kind of set her on the right path, and that's why the aunt comes in.
Right.
So
yeah, I love her reaction too. It's like, I don't see why I have to wear a darn old dress.
Yep. And she's just like, you'll get used to it, honey. It's just, I'm telling you, man, this scene alone for me, it's like the reason to rewatch this film. Anybody who's curious, all of the other nonsense aside that's going on in this movie, just this moment in time and the idea that this author experienced this in her own life, that she was like, why can't I wear just overalls to school? I just don't understand. And she's like, you will someday, sweetheart. You will. And it's that old conversation of what makes a gender, the costume or the person,
right.
I mean, we're deep in this now. We're up to our necks in it these days. But back then, these were still real conversations going on.
Oh, yeah.
So here she's fighting with Walter Cunningham, which is the son of that man we saw at the beginning of the film, right? And this is also another way that we're seeing like what life is like for all of these people, right? Because they end up inviting him over for dinner after this as well. Yeah, there we go. He's all dirty and everything, and
poor guy hasn't seen probably food like that ever.
He says
what does he say? It's like, you got a roast? Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah,
he's like, I've never had roast before, and he tells it that him and his dad go squirrel hunting, and
yeah, poor Jem's eyes can't get any wider at this point. He's just like, what the? You do what? You've never seen a roast before? For real?
Yeah, and people did whatever they could to get any kind of food on the table, So.
Yep. Back when things was free. I love this. Just unabashedly asking for the syrup.
My dad's grandma, she had like 10 siblings, and they picked cotton and worked in the fields all day. Different time.
So I think he asked for like some molasses syrup or something here.
Yeah, he asked for some syrup.
And then like Scout's looking at him like, why is he like drowning his food in syrup? Like, what's going on here?
Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
totally dumps it all over.
Yeah. Meanwhile, just before this, Jem is asking him whether he's got a gun, and he's going to try and pressure his dad with the guilt
To get him the
conversation
gun.
of
Yeah.
he got a gun, and then this is where we get the title drop.
Then,
Is in this sequence here because his father said, "All the Blue Jays you want, but don't ever kill a mockingbird."
Mhm.
And
It's a
this is
sin
that
to kill a
moment in
mockingbird.
here,
Mhm.
ironically paralleled with a poverty-stricken young man. That
Yeah.
this conversation is paralleling this dissertation that the dad is giving on
Mhm.
what do you shoot, and then we get the mad dog scene quite literally beats after, just a handful of beats after this.
Mhm.
I love this. It's like if you can't talk like a grown up, then you could eat in the kitchen. I absolutely love that
Yeah.
old school discipline.
Need
Yeah, this
more
is a-
discipline like that for kids.
This is a great conversation they have here.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really love this. But yeah, this is where she says she doesn't want to go back to school, right? And then why she doesn't want to go, and how he's teaching her the incorrect way to read and all this stuff. And I just love the whole compromise conversation because it's like, God, it's so true. Just do what you got to do and then come home.
And this was also almost line for line from the novel
Yeah.
as well, which I think the most powerful
That's cool.
monologues this film has. It's almost line for line
Yeah.
from the book, which I
It's
really
just-
appreciate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
He's just
I love it when they do that.
Hmm.
he's just such a good father. He just doesn't get rattled, doesn't get emotional, just very stoic and just tells him how it is, but he does it in a way that's calming and loving
Very
and
patient. He's
Yeah.
not like if you don't, get back at the table, you're going to get a
Yeah.
spanking or something.
Yeah.
He's very
Right.
slow and methodical. How to
yeah.
This is why I think Atticus Finch is probably the best male hero or representation on film.
Mhm.
Because he's got he has a strong he's traditionally masculine in the ways that matter. Like he knows how to fire a gun, he can handle himself, but at the same time, he has a extremely strict but also well developed
Mhm.
moral compass.
Oh yeah.
And it comes through in it's not just when he's a lawyer, it's when he's with his kids, it's when he's with his neighbors.
Mhm.
It's there. So this is also a man that is extremely sure
Mhm.
of himself,
Mm.
but
and
also
if you want to see another movie with Gregory Peck, and it's the same type of man. He knows what he wants and not
Mhm.
is The Big Country.
Mhm.
okay.
Oh yeah.
Really
Good
has
movie.
a really good character
Yeah.
in that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And he's well respected because of it. And everybody really respects him in the town. Yeah, he's the ideal, like Vex said, this is what men should strive to be like. And these days we're going backwards.
Yeah, and we could take it a step further. This is what people should be like, because you notice
Exactly.
he's not dumbing down his language, right?
No.
He says, "Do you know what a compromise is?" And she's like, "Is that when you when you break the law, you bend the laws?" And he's like,
No.
close, not close. You get a
Yeah.
word in edgewise here, clever girl. So
Yeah.
It's like
but
he's got
this is
his
exactly
emotions in
what
check,
the
too.
doctor says to him at the end of the picture, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the doctor compromises. He's like, "Look, he fell on his knife. That's what I'm writing in the report. Okay, you
Yeah. Yeah.
could
the
contest
sheriff.
me on it, but
Sheriff. Yeah.
and this is moments before they put a mad dog down. So
Mhm.
there's a definite correlation and parallel in the screenplay to that
Mhm.
beat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That her daddy, the drunkard, the racist, was a mad dog, and he wanted to put himself down, so to speak.
Mhm.
Oh, by the way, for people who don't know, this is a telephone. It used to be
Yeah.
on the wall.
Before it became a handheld device to take
Mhm.
pictures and
Yeah,
everything.
right.
Yeah, we actually
You
had a
had
functioning one.
you
of these
had
at
to
our house.
wind it to make it work.
Yep.
Times have changed, man.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, this is good.
Oh, here's the mad dog. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the moment in the film where Jem finally realizes that he does have a heroic father. That
Yeah.
no, I have no idea who this dude is. I got no
Mhm.
clue. This guy, he's just humbled himself into me thinking that he's not
Yep.
really that big a deal. But I could never fit in this man's shoes.
Mhm.
Like,
Scout 2's like, oh no, he can't shoot.
yeah. And his glasses, absolutely priceless comedy in those with those
Yeah,
glasses.
His
Mhm.
glasses kept falling in his face, so he throws them on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah, everyone's just kind of realizing it because no one has seen him,
It's a good shot.
fire a gun in a very long time. Those of them that know, right? So it's a
Mhm.
spectacle to be seen.
Yeah.
Also, kind of like the one instant actually. You good?
Good one, Jacob.
Sorry,
The
had
bullet.
to put a little humor in there.
That's nice.
Well, it looks a little bit too big.
Yeah,
Hey, use your imagination.
All right. It's cinema, right? There you
Exactly.
go.
and
Yeah,
he's
that's the
like,
only instance we actually see
shocked.
Atticus being, I guess, violent, we'll say, as well. So
Yeah,
it's
and
almost-
yet merciful
necessary.
because it was a clean kill
Right.
shot, right? So that's actually mercy. When it comes to putting something down, a
Yeah.
clean kill shot is the most merciful thing you could do.
And he's protecting his family, so there
Yeah.
you go. It's a double
and
whammy
the
there.
rest of the town too.
Mhm.
But he's almost got a look of, I still got it, and I wish I didn't have to do that.
Yep. Yeah. That combination of pride and like, oh, wow. Yeah. Mercy and compassion. And yeah, it's rough. Complicated movie, man. Almost every single shot in this film is like, wow, we can have a conversation about every single scene in this film.
Yeah.
Like 12 Angry Men. It's like every beat
Mm.
is so significant.
Yeah, I don't think the kids really know what was wrong with the dog either.
Yeah. Yeah, we barely even get a sense of it. You know, I'm watching it over and over again. I'm like, oh, they're talking about rabies. Of
Yeah,
course. Yeah.
You just assume rabies, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, stay away from that dog. It's still dangerous, even though it's dead.
Mhm.
It's even more dangerous now, he says, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's the Chevy.
Yep. Jeez.
Mm.
I wouldn't mind having one of those. They're kind of cool.
I'll take one.
Or is it when he first pulls up? It shows the. Oh no! Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the tire that they're playing with, is it the same tire that goes on these cars? That's
It
a
looks
big
very
tire.
similar. It might be from an earlier model, but it's an old
Mhm.
school tire.
Or maybe even a truck. Maybe.
Yeah, and that was not a rimmed tire either. It looks like it has an auto seal, but they still had tubes in those tires as well because the treads were
right.
not to be relied on.
Right.
Yeah, this was all very new technology. You know, we talk and complain about all the cars looking similar today.
Yeah, back
We've
then,
only
yeah.
come full circle. It's the same thing back then when they first
Oh,
got
yeah.
started.
All right.
And I love this maid. I absolutely
Yeah, me too.
adore her. The housekeeper,
She's
the
great.
nanny. She's just
Mhm.
fantastic.
And they're like, we want to go with you. So he's going to visit the widow of, or the not the widow, the wife of the man
Yep.
he's
Mhm.
defending.
Yeah, see, and we never hear any conversations beyond the scope of the two kids.
Yeah.
There's never the camera never leaves them. We always keep it perceptually in
On
range
them.
of the children, right? We don't hear the angst going on in the house. We don't see any relatives talking to the father of Tom saying, "Oh, the white man and blah 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 blah," and all the angst and racism and blah. We never hear any of that nonsense. It only within earshot of the kids. That's where the
Yeah.
camera stays the whole time.
Yeah, they want their point of view, so it does it perfectly. Yeah.
Mhm.
This guy plays a good crazy.
Yeah, he was a good bad guy. Yeah. And think about it as a kid, like your sister's sleeping in the front, you're in the back, you can't nobody to protect her, dad's in the house, like as a kid, you're like, oh my god, this is
Right. And you don't know
Yeah.
what he's going to do. He
Yeah,
could have
exactly.
a gun on him. He could
Mhm.
start breaking windows. You don't know.
Yeah.
that fear and that anxiety starts kicking in. You're like, oh God, please, Yeah.
This character.
And Finch just stares him down.
Yeah.
Back off.
He even doesn't. He even tells the kid in the car, like he's all bluff. He's not going to do anything.
I don't think he says anything until they get home.
Oh, okay. I remember something. I thought that the kid, he was worried, and he's like, he's all bluff. Don't pay any mind to him.
Yeah.
It's like, it's Bigfoot. Is that cannoli? Yeah.
Santa freshen. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
love this.
he says to him, I wish I could protect you from ugly things, but that's not possible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like any parent, right? You wish you could shield your children, but it's impossible, and it's sometimes necessary for them to see the ugliness.
Yep.
Helps them grow.
I am curious. Was there more to the nanny character, Vex, in the book? I mean, I feel like she wants to say something to Jem in this scene, but she doesn't. We're just left with this notion that we're supposed to understand that she understands that he just went through a frightening circumstance and saw the ugly side of the world. For the first
time. I recall, she was much more prominent in the book, right?
Yeah, Calpurnia had a way. She was basically the mother. She was mother, right? Yeah. So she had a lot more say in how the day-to-day of the kids, because as well, which the movie sets up very nicely, is like Atticus he's a loving father, but he's not a present father, right? Mm-hmm. But again, it's like he has a watchful eye almost from a distance. But to counter that, then Calpurnia is the one that's always there. So I don't know if maybe it was kind of a race issue given what was going on at the time. Maybe that's why they cut down her role, but she did have a lot more to her.
If you're doing it from a movie standpoint, you're just trying to fit in so much in a 2-hour movie that you're going to cut probably more parts out. And the more for the movie version, the more important parts were Atticus, the trial, and the kids. So, I mean, but yeah, she was in the book. I remember being very prominent. Yeah. Very much in front and center, which was great.
And I love that he receives an award, basically, from whoever this source is supposed to be. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah. So, Vex, was this in the book? The tree?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is where where Boo Radley, you find out later, is the one leaving them all those trinkets, right? So here's the medal, but there was also bubble gum. There were some really old pennies in there. Like, this is the tie-in again to the whole children and innocence thing, right? Fixating on objects.
And that medal's like for a prize they had for reading at school or something.
A spelling bee, I think he says later on when he goes through the box. So, But it's interesting how at this point we don't even know what it is. We're not really sure. We think it might be for something to do with school because there's a book on the medal, but he just went through some valiant moment, some heroic moment in his life, and he receives an award from this tree knot. A child's imagination would just run with that one for sure.
Oh yeah.
Scout just dives right in.
Scout's a freaking butch, man. I love her to pieces. It's my kind of gal.
Yeah, Scout's awesome.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew girls like this back in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Kicked my butt all the time for looking at them. Don't you side-eye me. You think you're cute, Cicino? You better just keep your eyeballs in your head, young man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cicino, young man. Hold on.
Hey, listen. Ransom giving us a little glimpse into his past there. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Elementary school, girls wore 1-inch clogs. It was a dangerous time to be a boy. I can tell you that.
So yeah, this is where Scout uses the word.
Yeah.
And kids at school are I guess
I love that she says it. And he's like, don't say that word. She's like, I didn't say it. I'm just telling you what he said. And it's like, that's how broken the whole contextual ramifications of the word have gotten, where it's like,
Right.
you can't even quote a crime without the crime suddenly turning on you because of the word in the crime. It's like, oh my God, this is madness. Please stop. I want to get off. Somebody stop the earth and let me get off.
Let me jump off here.
Phew. Boy,
Yeah.
oh boy. Chop suey.
And
Yeah.
I like this. He's like, there's been a lot of high talk in town.
Yeah. A lot going on. A lot of change.
Mm-hmm.
I just love these little talks he has with her. It's just so, God.
Wholesome.
And how he just calms him down too, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's that presence he has, that calm demeanor. Just, it's perfect for what he needs. It's perfect for what the town needs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is this when they find more stuff in the tree?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is where the dad comes out and cements the tree hole up, though, right?
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, talk about putting an end to it forever. Good grief.
Oof.
Freaking shovel full of mortar.
Yeah, see, now you start to see all the things that were in the beginning opening scene in that box. You know, the
Right.
soap dolls,
And-
all the little,
It's not just I mean, he's not so mentally impaired that, I mean, he carved these figures too. So
Yep.
he's not, he's still capable.
I love the idea that they're soap dolls, which suggests a sense of cleaning or hygiene, that these two spirits are completely without, guilt or fault, right? They're too pure. They're young. They're made out of soap, for crying out loud, right? It's
Yeah, right.
something really, really nice and poetic about that moment.
Agreed. They're just like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Where are we going to get our stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Don't do it to my Easter basket. What the heck, man? And this is where we see the box.
Yeah.
By the way, this kid is amazing. The kid playing Jem, holy crap, he is amazing.
Yeah, they both were excellent.
My God, wish we could get some more kids like this. Jinkies.
So does Atticus smoke cigars?
I think it's just a
'Cause
common thing
that's
for
the
the
cigar
time.
box.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then those were like
There's like a broken
paper
watch,
bags.
Yeah.
knife.
Yeah. Everything he pulls out of this box should be glowing the way he talks about it. It's like, oh, every single item. He's like, and then I found this. Oh, classic.
So this is the next summer, I think.
I like how he's still 4 feet tall, and it's a whole year later. It's a poor little guy.
I've been up since 4 o'clock. Guess it's in my blood, really.
It's in my blood.
It's such a smarmy little kid. It's awesome.
He's just a little guy.
Yeah.
And look at her face. She's like, "You're so weird."
I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like that kid Dill is making up stories about his dad that his mom has told him.
He is, yes. He's regurgitating tales that his mom has told him. Yeah.
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 First he was a railroad baron. Now he's an Air Force pilot. It's like,
He's gonna
what's
come
next?
get him. Oh, he's gonna go.
Spaceman. By
I'm gonna go
1969, he'll be
flying.
a spaceman.
Yep.
You know.
It's so funny.
So they brought what's his name?
Tom Robbins.
Tom Robbins
Tom
into
Robinson?
town for the trial the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
This scene.
so the sheriff's got wind that there's going to be people coming to the jailhouse.
Got wind. Yeah, got wind in the form of like 100 letters and 18 phone calls, probably. A couple of personal visits with some bricks to his house.
Yeah, I was gonna
as well.
say.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a little bit more than some wind. That's really what I do like about this film. It never goes beyond the children's perception of the action.
Mhm.
We as adults who may have lived through this time period would know for a fact that there were stones thrown, there were cars, with their
Mhm.
tires flattened, right?
Yeah.
Rude phone calls and like jibs in the store where somebody bumps elbows and knocks somebody down or something like that. Like serious infractions of social grace, right?
Mhm.
But we
The
don't
whole
see any of
picture,
it in this movie. It's all still Sesame Street here,
Yeah.
right?
the
Right.
Until
the
this
the
moment.
picture this brings out, looking at this scene as a kid, he's got a lamp from the house and he's sitting outside on the porch reading a book. It's like,
Yeah.
what is he doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
I love that he brought his own lamp. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in it now, up to my neck.
I like how he just looks around at everybody. He doesn't even flinch. He's just like, okay.
Cucumber.
Yeah.
I do like how he does get nervous. There is a building sense of nervousness in the scene.
Yeah.
It's ratcheting up very slowly.
Especially when his kids show up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's like, go home now.
And
Yeah.
then good old Scout. Dude, Jem, this must have been like the most courageous moment in his whole life. He's like, I'm not leaving you alone with these fellas. I can smell it. These guys mean trouble.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, sorry, Dad. I gotta draw a line in the sand here. Sorry.
Yeah. It's a great.
I'm not going anywhere. And of
Yeah.
course, Scout just pulls the rug
And-
out from underneath all of them.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Love it.
Yeah.
He is. Nasratu. What's up, brother?
Nice.
Oh no. Yes. I leave secret gifts and treats.
So- Carve soap for people.
Yes.
Yes, in the form of memes and
And
Yeah.
this is the first time that Scout gets it, that mentioning you're poor and that kind of stuff is not good to say, but the whole thing just unravels the hostility and such a
Well, yeah,
good scene.
because he breaks them down. I mean, just this young kid who's just talking about, hey, I know your son. I go to school. It's just this innocent child,
mhm.
and they're like, yeah, we can't do anything here. It's just we're going too far now. Let's just all go home because
Yeah.
she just puts them in their place.
But she brings them back to their senses.
Yeah, Yeah.
And she does all of the things that a psychologist would tell you to do in a negotiation thing. It's
hmm
bring up personal relations, bring up people's first names, tell them how you go to school together, tell them you ate a meal
Yeah.
together, like all of these human things that parallel us across a dinner table, for crying out loud. These are the things that make us human. And the guys are just like, oh, wow, we're really acting like idiots, aren't we?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Shoot this man in front of his children? And then what? Shoot them too? I mean, what are we doing here, guys? What's our end game?
This too, this look on his face is so, he's like almost proud of his kids,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and
A lot of
like he can be taught something too.
Mhm.
Man, what happened to acting like that? Just a expression, and you can read everything.
Never mind.
Started
acting. What
looking,
happened
yeah,
to
sex
filmmaking?
cells.
Yeah.
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 That too.
There's a couple of moments in this courtroom that are just like, man,
Oh,
there's
man, yeah.
some acting going on in this person's face here. I can,
Mhm.
somebody send a flag up the pole or something. 'cause-
Yeah, you could see where a lot of the one movie I brought up was that movie Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel Jackson.
Mhm.
You could massive inspiration from this movie. You can just tell how the courtroom was set up.
Mhm, mhm.
A lot of this similar, aesthetics and just similar story points too. Very much so.
Yeah, I don't know why this struck me as odd, but the kids go upstairs with the Reverend, which is totally legit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter
Yeah.
one way or the other what part of the community that reverend's from. He's just, we trust the reverend. He's a man of God, right? This is a Christian community still, regardless of your color, creed, or background. We're still
Right.
all God-fearing folk, right? So there was that commonality. But I found it the irony that they flipped who was on the higher ground. Like
Mm-hmm.
they put the racial section on the second floor, right? Which is
Right.
Right.
normally where a master bedroom would be, or the high ground would be, or the high
Mhm.
table would be, right? I find it really ironic that that's supposed to be a secondary position, the balcony. Meanwhile, the balcony was always reserved at the opera for higher paying customers. This seems really flip flopped to me. It's like, this is how bizarre aesthetically my brain is looking at this material. It's like, this is really strange how that's flipped. You would think it would
So,
be
like,
the other way around.
the way they explained it in the novel was that, like, they typically did not allow black people into the courtroom, like, at
No.
all. But because this was such a, you know, I guess a turn of the mill, or what, not run of such a rare case, we'll say, right?
Sure.
Right.
Such
Yeah,
a rare
right.
case, they decided to let them in, and this was the only space that they had, so they shuffled them all in there. The
Mhm.
reason they're with the Reverend is actually Calpurnia is supposed to be in this shot, and
Yeah.
she notices the kids are there. It's like, you're not supposed to be here. Someone's got to keep an eye on you. So she gets them to come up with them, and then the Reverend sees them there as well, and he starts, you know, kind of having a bit of conversation with them. So that's kind of why they end up going with the Reverend, because Calpurnia trusts the Reverend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also one other thing too from the previous scene when they're all sitting out in front of the jailhouse, right? The guys show up. They come up in 4 trucks, right? Like 4 horsemen of the apocalypse kind of 4 trucks, right?
Yeah, right.
That's nice and fun. But when Scout confronts Walter, and she says, we were talking about your entitlements, right? Because that's what Atticus was working on, was his land entitlements. That's the legal case that he was giving him the chestnuts and the collard greens for, right? That's what he was paying him back
Right.
for, were his, Walter Cunningham's, entitlements to his own land. And I found it really, really crazy ironic that she uses the word entitlement to his face. And that's really the linchpin that just dissolves the whole mob scene.
Yeah.
Because they realize that, like, entitlements take a long time, you know? You guys wait for your deeds for your land. Let's see how this pans out. And it was like, wow, okay, yeah. Just the idea that that word means is so much more pregnant now than it even was then.
That it was, yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. Anyway,
Right.
back to the motion picture.
Now back to the movies.
Right. Hey, Roman. What's up,
Roman.
Bubba?
Hey, Rowan. And two, the black community in this town knows that Atticus is sacrificing something to defend Tom, because he knows that he's Finch is gonna, you know, have some backlash from defending him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at just the look on his face. It
Yeah.
says it all, you know. And this actor here, I can't remember his name, but when Gregory Peck
Brock
passed away,
Peters.
there we go.
Hmm.
When Gregory Peck passed away in, was it 2003? He actually read the eulogy at his funeral. Brock Peters, yeah.
Hmm.
So like like everyone that worked on this film more or less stayed in really close contact. Like the actress that plays Scout as well.
Mhm.
She said they kept in touch for the rest of his life, and whenever they would actually like see each other, it's like he would call her Scout, and she would
Aw.
call him Peck.
Wow. That's some
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brock Peters too is also plays Cisco's dad in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. There
Oh
you go.
wow. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was great. He was great in this role.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, this courtroom scene was unbelievable.
So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's now everyone is kind of like interviewing all these people that supposedly saw Maela Ewell get graped. Because she's accusing this black man of doing it, and all these people are, of course, because of the time, they're going to lie and say it was a black man, right? So this was like, this scene was, I think this took about like what, 30 minutes of the film, the
It was a
courtroom.
long
Yeah.
time. Mhm.
Yeah, and they absolutely nailed it. They nailed
Oh, it
it.
was excellent. It's like I was saying before the show that this movie felt like two different movies. Like there was the child story, the view from their point, and then it went right into this court drama towards the end. I was like, wow, it just fits
Yeah.
perfectly. It meshes so
Mhm.
well, just like the book. Which, obviously the
And,
book had more context, but this was done immaculately.
Mhm.
Finch is starting, what side of the face was the bruising?
Mhm. Yeah, and you already knew he wasn't going to get a fair trial based on
yeah,
the time
yeah.
period where it was, but like the points they bring out immediately, that's like pretty quick. Where you're like, okay, obviously he didn't do this,
Mhm.
but you just knew probably it wasn't going to end well anyway.
Yeah,
But
he was holding out hope. He was hoping
Yeah.
that law would intervene, that ration would intervene. But
Right.
to me, this conversation about left hand and right hand and the reflection of perception is the whole premise of the show in
Mhm.
in a nutshell. It's like, is that from my perspective or your perspective? Whose right hand, whose left hand are we talking about here? It's like this whole notion that you can't measure what's in another person's mind. So
Right.
you need to set up this whole idea of, wait, you mean my left hand or your left hand from your point of view or from my point of view? It's like,
Mhm.
holy, the jury must have just been like newfangled upper east, Yankee to, lawyering,
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
trying to pull a fast one on us, like that whole thing where it's like, is this a mind trick?
Mhm.
Yeah, it is, but you're the ones playing more of a mind trick than he is. It's just so good,
Mhm.
this guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, the layers too of the story. There's so many aspects that are playing a part.
Just giggling at some Nosferatu comments. Yeah, absolute gems, Nosferatu. Absolute gems.
You're our Joe Pesci, Ransom.
I guess so.
Don't come around me with any pens in your hand.
I like this this prosecuting attorney. Does anybody recognize him from a
You know what?
particular Star Trek show? Perhaps
I was gonna say he looked very familiar when I watched this.
I think he plays the commander of the Constellation or something, or he's the fleet commander, the admiral commander of the
Which is-
It goes
I
up
just
against
love-
the destroyer and that big cone-shaped alien spacecraft. in
Well,
the
I like how
original
you
Star Trek
have
show.
Gregory Peck's character here, where he's just kind of stiff and just stoic, and then you have this other process, and he's just got his leg over the chair, very laid
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, right.
His clothes are wrinkled, and you're just like, oh god, man, what a
Yeah,
difference.
he didn't
and
have
what,
to
he's
do-
chewing on
he
a pencil.
Yeah, he's chewing on a pen.
Yeah.
What a contrast, right?
He knows, but he knows I got
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
I
where
don't
because
have
of
to worry
where
about anything.
exactly.
It's already been decided.
Right.
Yeah, because Gregory Peck's very tense and just kind of standing up straight. But
It's like, what can you write? This guy,
oh man,
of course I can write.
he just breaks this guy down throughout the
Yeah.
whole. Yeah,
hmm
look at his face. He's like, oh, he's like, oops, shouldn't have spoke so soon.
And I love the murmur out of the crowd too, which gives
Mhm.
you a sense that the community is shocked that
Mhm.
he would contest his truth.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
This guy says he could read and write. Well, you take it at face value because he's
Yeah,
a
prove
respected
it.
member of the community, and he's like, "Prove it to me," and they're like, "Oh, prove it to you." It's like,
But what he's
yeah,
getting
we're in a
at-
court of law,
but-
folks.
What the people in the crowd don't get is what he's pointing out. This guy's left-handed.
Right.
Mhm.
Bruises
Yeah.
were on the right side of the face.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. It's so good. And this trope gets just demolished in almost every court case after this film. They just film history has just completely destroyed this whole thing of, raise your right hand, or dear, you need thicker glasses, or here, catch this ball. And it's like, right? I mean, how often is this trope brought up in a court case as like the winning move,
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Abomination AJ? What's up, people?
Hey, AJ.
This young lady is the real villain of the whole movie, in my opinion.
She's actually a lot more innocent in the novel compared to here.
But I still feel sorry for her here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's had a terrible life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead, please.
Oh, one of the things like they leave out in the development here is like Maela Ewell is she never got to be a kid, right? Because her dad is a deadbeat and her mom's not in the picture anymore, she took over as the caregiver. So you really empathize with her a lot more in the novel than you do here in this, because here she is definitely villainized, right? You can see but at the same time you still see she's under the hand of her father.
Oh yeah.
He's like,
he controls her.
If you mess this up, we're gonna have words when we get home.
Yeah. You could almost see him murmuring the lines he gave her to read. Like his lips are moving slightly, almost as if he's remembering.
Well, it's all in her demeanor too. Like she's shaky, she's just erratic, and she knows if, God forbid, she says the wrong thing, and probably years of abuse from him and trauma, and I think that's why she blows up and starts screaming at the end of this dialogue. I think it's more of just she wants to say what happened, but she can't. She's afraid. So it's just years of abuse from her father and all this aggression. So she just screams like, this whole that whole part of the dialogue. I think it was really meant for him.
When she takes the Bible, right? They offer the Bible to swear on. And she's really reluctant to lower her hand completely down on that book.
It actually hovers.
The priceless moment is the look on Tom's face.
Yeah.
When he sees that she can get away with swearing on that Bible and she's not struck down by God outright. And it's like almost we can see it. Tom knows it. Because he's the only one who really believes that he's innocent. Everybody else is just either trying to prove it or disprove it. But he knows for a fact what happened. So he's just like, wow, even God isn't on my side. She was able to swear on this Bible and get away with it. And I know that she's lying. So it's like the destruction of God right there in the courtroom for him.
Yep.
So crazy.
It's like it's the only hand he can use too.
He's also demonstrating how gentle he is too. He didn't roughly grab the glass. He didn't break the glass. He catches the glass without it breaking, and it's a gentle catch. It's not a swat. It's not aggressive. It's a clean catch. Like I said, it's just so clean. This movie, all of its premises are so well displayed. It's great.
I think we're coming up to the speech he makes too, right? Almost. Oh yeah, this is where she cracks finally. Yeah.
They must have pulled in on these frames. That was not the original focus pull. You know what I mean? You see how grainy it gets right here? They probably zoomed in on the frames to get a better close up on her. Yeah.
They did that with the Boo Radley's father in the beginning too. On the tree scene, they did that. Yeah,
she just wants to run.
Yeah, and you like how the dad's control. It's just typical. He's controlling her there physically, sitting her down, and you could just sums up. You could just see her whole life, what it's been like living with this man. And she wants to run away, but he won't let her. He's grabbing onto her, controlling. It's unbelievable.
And I like how they don't bother hinting that maybe the father is trying to fool around with her too, that this was a jealousy thing more than anything else, that it wasn't just racism. They keep it nice and clean, no peripheral
Yeah.
action at all, no
Mhm.
side glances, no comments made in, dark corners or anything like that.
Yeah. They don't
This
need to
film
show
stays
it.
on its own rails.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to show it. It's
No.
inferred without saying or showing anything.
Mhm.
Right. It's so true.
Yep. All right, here we go.
Oh yeah, this part was God. This guy did a great job in this scene.
Gut-wrenching.
Yeah,
I
I've seen this
can't even
movie several
imagine.
times, and I still get choked up.
I mean, this would have been rough in 1952. It would have been difficult in 1962, but in
Mhm.
1932 or 42, this
Yeah.
would have been like unheard of in this part
Unheard
of the
of.
country.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
R2 with the real questions here.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm curious. How does this work now? How can I use that for my show?
It's a website, actually.
Ah,
Yes.
see, they do all the work for you, R2.
Right.
Yeah. They overdo all the work for you, and then you've
Yeah,
got to
right.
skim through those and find out which ones you want. Otherwise, there's like thousands and
Right.
thousands of shots.
Nosferatu's killing me in the comments, man. He's
He's
killing
awesome. Yes, chatsters.
Oh my God.
Hey, feel
She
free
has
to turn
delicious
that
angles.
ring light off whenever you want to, Bex.
No, I'm doing it for the show.
She's a trooper.
That's right.
She's falling asleep on my show. No, I'm just kidding.
Because you're
Teach yourself
boring ass.
later.
That's why.
He goes through the entire thing telling what actually happened. And she was
Yeah.
coming on
Yeah.
to him, and her
Mhm.
dad saw, and he ran out of that house.
Yeah.
Now, can somebody tell me? I'm assuming that a shift robe is a wardrobe. It's just
It's-
some other.
it's a
That's what I
wardrobe,
was
yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
Is
It's
it
one of
a
those-
different pronunciation? Was it a specific brand or a type of
No, no.
wardrobe that they're referring to?
Schifferobe is just like a slang term. That's all. It's also like somewhat British terminology as well. So
Okay.
it's just one of those tall, like 2-door wardrobes. That's it.
Okay. I do like that, though. That there is some consideration to be made that the witch in the wardrobe is actually a thing in pop culture at this point, as far as
Yeah.
children's literature is concerned as well. So I'm wondering how far that metaphor can actually be dragged, that she's losing her innocence every time he chopped up a shift rope for her,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And this whole concept of the tin woodsman has come to her house to chop up her
Mhm.
wardrobe. She's no longer a girl, she's a woman now. Like,
Mhm.
there's something else going on in
Yeah.
Harper Lee's novel
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that. She's trying to say something in there.
This
And she doesn't
scene
say chop
here.
wood, she doesn't say draw
Yeah,
water.
she's
He
Yeah,
chops
something
up
else.
a wardrobe,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Unbelievable.
This is one of the few scenes where he kind of
He
see
knows.
that crack of the
Yeah,
emotions
because
coming through.
and it was just from Robinson saying that he felt bad for a white woman, and he
Yeah.
knew that was it. If he had any shot of winning this case, that was
He
it.
just blew
That
it.
was he
Yeah.
blew it, and his face just like you said, his
Such
expression
great
changed. Just
acting.
a frightening look. Like we just lost. This
Yeah.
poor guy is done. Yeah, but you're right. Great acting without having to
Yeah,
say anything.
you could see him. He
Mhm.
knows he's losing. As a matter
Mhm.
of fact, you could see the concern come up as soon as that lawyer gets out of his seat. And he's like,
Yep.
I forgot about cross-examination. I should have coached him on this. There was no way to coach him on this. We might be in trouble here, kids,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks, Roman. Nas is Boo Radley.
Yep, he is. According to the tree out in my yard, that's for damn sure. He's always leaving little trinkets. I don't know how he gets them all the way over here. He must use FedEx or something.
Yeah.
No, he turns into a little bat and flies over.
Nice. There's some hugs and kisses from the Nosferatu.
Oh.
I need a real vampire's kiss for that
Oh.
thing.
Oh my!
Oh my!
Sweet. Wow.
It's like
Wow.
When are
the
you
looks
gonna
on his
review that
face.
movie? Actually,
What
What
movie?
movie?
Nosferatu.
Oh,
Oh,
Yep.
that's
it's
a
a remake.
that's a odd.
Gotta-
I recently just watched that for the first time.
The which version?
The old one.
The 1933 version.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
Have you
Texas
seen
Book- Sorry.
Shadow of the Vampire as well?
I have not.
There's a William Dafoe and a whole slew of like actors come onto this ensemble. Like what's his face? John Malkovich plays the director, and they're filming the movie Nosferatu. The story is the filming of Nosferatu, and it's called Shadow of the Vampire. It was made just around turn of the last millennium. Yeah, really, really good. You will love it. It is like such dark comedy. It's perfect. William
Okay.
Dafoe plays Nosferatu.
I'll check that out then.
Yeah,
Vex is looking forward to the
Does he need
remake of
makeup to play that?
Nosferatu. No, he does not. That dude is scary enough.
This is great.
Yeah, this part.
And look at the kids falling asleep on the
Gil,
passage.
yeah.
Typical. Yeah.
And Jem asks, it says the most like, it's got to be the most intelligent line I think of his in the whole movie. It was like, that seems good, right? They've been gone. They've been talking about this thing for 2 hours. That seems promising, right? Doesn't that seem The idea that he would even come up with that in his own head is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Smart kids.
And we don't get a scene with the guard, with the jailman hassling him. You think you're going to win this case, boy? You know, like that whole routine. We don't see any of that in this movie. There's none of that in this movie. We don't see any of the writing.
The whole thing here, like you're handcuffing a guy who's can only use one arm.
One arm.
Yeah, well, procedure.
I know that's procedure, but it's just.
No, I get it, but it's like, yeah, everything's going on procedure, and it's like, Atticus is trying to use the law to the best of his abilities to get this
guy
done.
Seems kind too. I mean, he's not got an angry
sympathetic,
look on his face
even.
He's sympathetic.
So one of the scenes that they left out before this is because Atticus was representing Tom Robinson, and there were other people in the town as well that knew that, hey, like Tom, he may be a black man, but he's not responsible for this, right? They empathized with him and were kind of taking Atticus's side of this as well. But prior to this scene, Atticus had actually spent the entire night outside of the jail cell guarding Tom Robinson, because Bob Ewell was going to get some of his friends together to come and kill Tom Robinson so they didn't have to go through this trial. So it's one of the things that that's a scene that they should have left in my opinion, because at the same time, it's another connecting scene because we saw Walter Cunningham at the beginning of the film in the opening sequence. And Walter Cunningham is there again in the group of men that come to kill Tom Robinson. And she's the reason that Tom Robinson ends up staying alive, actually. So that would have been a good scene to keep in, and I think it would have added far more weight to what Atticus is doing here now in the courtroom.
Interesting. That's why always books are better than the movies, usually.
Yeah, books can get away with pacing issues much better than a film can.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's interesting. Throughout this entire courtroom scene, you see the hope draining from Atticus's face.
Oh, yeah.
Like very slowly but surely. He was a very confident looking man.
Even Jim's face.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know. They know.
I was telling Stephen before y'all guys came on, that the kids are different ages, and you can see them how they interpret things a little differently. I thought it was good
Mhm.
touch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
even
and
the
the camera's doing.
judge is cast down too. Like,
Yeah, because they all know that this is not going the way it should. That they could see on the face of it that people are making an emotional decision here, and it was unfair, and they shouldn't have been allowed to do that because it's actually breaking the evidence. It's like they're going
right.
completely against the evidence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of shocking. But I have to ask: does anybody know? Is that a decanter on the judge's table?
It looked like it,
Or
right?
but
Yeah.
it's you see how it
I
it
think it's a
tips,
Yeah.
right?
water, because
Like the water, I
it's got
think,
water
maybe.
glasses next
It
to
is
it.
for water because
This is
Yeah.
there's
supposed to
actually
be.
a voting device in Greek
Hmm.
law. They would put stones in there, and you would pour out the stones in a similar manner. To have some sort of like a bingo vessel that would hold all the
Right.
bingo balls. That the black and white balls of voting would be in a similar contraption. And
Okay.
I can't get it out of my head. I couldn't, because it's so prominent in camera. It's like, dude, get that thing out of frame. What the hell are we even looking at that thing for? Why is that even being shown on camera? I don't get it.
Yeah, you can't get black balls out of your head, Stephen.
I guess so. And how to pour them into my hands, I guess, too.
Oh, okay.
Because Vex,
So
you
he's
naughty girl.
telling
Anyway,
him you can see that Tom is down, and he's like, remember, we can appeal this. We
Appeal.
can.
Mhm.
yes, I
That
know.
that entire monologue that Atticus has, it's a 6.5 minute one. They filmed that all in one shot. Gregory
Yeah.
Peck did that all in one go.
That was
Mhm.
fantastic.
Mhm.
This is
I
great.
love this. He's
Yeah.
like, stand, your father's passing.
Yep.
Mhm.
And this has nothing to do with white knighting. Okay.
Nothing.
No.
I've listened to a few people really chew this
No.
movie to pieces, and I'm just like, this is not a white knight scenario.
It's a sign of respect.
This is the only brave person in the neighborhood that was
Yeah.
even allowed to get the job done. This has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
color of this guy's skin. He's the only one who's allowed to get the job done.
Yep. Put himself at
And-
risk, his family and his reputation, and he did it because he knew it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the show ain't over yet.
No. Oh, yeah.
Right?
This part was hard. Yeah, this was rough. Yeah. I forgot this part because it's been a
Oh.
while. I was like, oh, that's right. And he obviously took this really, really hard. Poor kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Sure.
Nice.
No, thanks, Nos. Good try.
So, what's everybody's opinion on this neighbor? Do you think her and Peck get together every once in a while for a little walk, maybe an exchange of flowers?
In the
perhaps?
1930s, that's, I don't know. Is that what you would call it? The
So,
walk around the neighborhood?
Vex, you said she was the aunt. Is she the sister of their mother? You said
No,
that
it's on the
early on.
father's side. On the father's side.
Oh, okay.
None of the mother's relatives are actually in the beginning of the novel. You actually find out that Atticus and his wife, they're actually like second cousins or something like that. So there's a lot of incest in their bloodline.
Okay.
Makes sense.
In the movie, she's just given like a generic, she's the girl, she's the lady across the street. She probably knew the wife when she was alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you never get a sense that there's some romantic attachment, but it's more like he's such a good father to his boy and his girl, and she admires him for that. And, she'll occasionally take him, a cake or something whatever they did back then to be all, smoochy coochie, I guess.
I wish someone would
Now,
bring me
quick-
cake to make
Quick question here.
Gucci.
They find out that Tom is dead here,
Right.
Yeah.
and he tried to run, and a deputy shot at him to stop him, not to kill him, and missed his aim.
Yeah.
Do you think that is the guy that handed over the rifle when he shot
Yes,
at
I
the
do.
dog?
Yes, I do. Yeah. If the screenplay is to be respected, and back then you should respect a screenplay for that sort of thing. Absolutely. There was no reason to not mention it. There was no reason that they mentioned it. Otherwise, it must have been that guy or a similar circumstance where that guy never should have pulled the trigger. at all
Right.
Yeah.
because he didn't have a clean shot. Never should have pulled the trigger. Or this is the cover up because this is a form of self-destruction, is to run away from police officers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, I'm not getting away with this, and I'm sure as hell not going to prison again. So
Yeah. So I'm just gonna run and see. You know,
Yep.
Good luck.
Yep.
And this is good because he wants to go with him.
Yeah.
So if the kid didn't go with him, we wouldn't know what happened out here.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's that too. I wanted to mention something really quick too, that when Gregory Peck is doing that monologue about the shooting, and he was talking about how, you know, he didn't have a clean shot, and he missed his aim and killed him. The subtitles had translated "missed his aim and killed him" as "Mr. Spain killed him." And I was like, where? That's an ironically fascist thing to translate it into, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because Mr. Spain, Mr. Franco. I was just like, really, YouTube? Come on, do better, YouTube. Do better. Anyway,
That's pretty
I
funny.
had to write that down. I was like, closed caption. You need to improve the closed captions. There was so many Anyway, here we go. This scene.
And
This is the
guy just
definition of strength. This scene.
can't let it go.
Nope. He wants to be punished just like the girl does. He really wants him to step up to him and knock him one so he could prove it to himself.
And he's like, I'm gonna, no, don't do it.
Right.
Is that supposed to be an insult that Dale was a pizza eater?
Yes.
It's funny. Yeah.
And he just
Just like those garlic eaters.
and he just sidesteps him and walks to the car. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I like he tosses the handkerchief on the ground. He's like, I'm never using that thing ever again. Yuck.
And it's like, this is what I think of you, and throws it on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just steps away. And like I was saying before, like nobody would have been upset if he actually throat punched him after he spit in his face. But
Yeah,
he actually it's more insulting that he didn't do anything. It's like
Yeah.
you're not worth my time. You're garbage. So
Mm-hmm.
it's great.
Again, a true man. A true man.
100%.
So then we get a time jump.
What is pizza code for? I don't.
All right now.
This is
the
a
book,
family
she
stream,
was,
Bex.
she was a ham
Yes.
in the book as well, right?
Ham.
They didn't change that on us in the film.
Who?
Scout, when she went
Scout.
when she did the play, she was still a ham in the play.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know why.
This is accurate. This is accurate. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Thanksgiving play.
And the only reason you know it's a ham is it says ham on it.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's like, what is that? What is that?
I
Like,
remember being in these plays, you know, when they make something, it's like, what is that? I don't know. Oh, it's a ham. Okay.
right. I'm a side of ham and I'm okay. I made from pork. And
That
I
ham
cook it all
protected
day.
her. It was that ham outfit
It was
kind of
not-
protected her.
Yep. Yep. This is such a good scene.
That was great.
They nailed this as well. It's almost like one for one how I pictured it
Mhm.
reading the novel.
Mm-hmm. Her face, seeing everything
Mhm.
happening as a
Mhm.
kid, you know, it's like, oh,
Yep. Yeah, this is what I mean about the parallels in this movie. Because I always try to fabricate parallels in a film, like to kind of get all of my metaphors in line. I'll put parallels in there to kind of just notate where all of these strings are going in the story.
mhm.
But this film,
Hey, Jen.
this film is quite literally, she winds up without her clothes and runs into Boo.
Yeah.
And her brother, when they go to visit the house, Jem loses his overalls at the fence. That
Mhm.
is a direct parallel to Boo. There's no doubt about it. It's parallel in the writing. It's there. I don't know exactly what she's trying to say, but those parallels are pretty much there, hardwired in the book. It's pretty much in the movie, I mean.
Mhm.
So it's got to be there's some thread. I still can't wrap my head around Boo. I can't. I don't even know what to do with this character. I don't understand exactly what this character is doing in the story.
I think I know what you're referring to now, Nos.
Yep.
Cheese pizza, if we will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Now.
All right. I got you.
This is great. Now they get back to that compromise line on the front patio.
Yep.
Any second now.
Yep.
And he's like, "What's his name over there's got a kitchen knife stuck up between his ribs."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "What?"
Yeah, because they don't know who saved him. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like asking her, and she's like, "Well, there he is." It's like he's been hiding back there the whole time.
Like Batman hiding behind the door in the shadows. It's like, oh, that was
Creepy. Yeah. Mr. Duvall, what are you doing here? No one expects Duvall, you know.
right.
It's like no one expects the Inquisition.
I'm looking for Joe Kidd.
Yeah. Joe Kidd.
Remember that movie?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
She's like, "It's Boo."
Hey, Boo. There you go. The
Oh,
line.
Boo. Yeah.
Oh my God, look at that jawline on Robert Duvall. My goodness. It's a Chad jawline.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't even look like the same guy anymore.
No.
And is there supposed to be a direct parallel between this relationship between Boo and Scout?
Again,
and
this is the innocent.
Monsters Incorporated and
This is
Boo?
the loss of innocence and growing up, right? This is the whole thing, right? That's why I think Boo is representative of that more than anything else.
Yeah.
Don't fear the shadows kind of commentary, right? You know, or the shadows aren't what you entirely think they might be.
Mm-hmm.
I think
the world is not as it seems.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
This whole conversation here.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, and he's like, Atticus is going, can I go through with this? Like, then I have to give up possibly my son, maybe, because nobody knows what really. It's like, oh man, what a difficult. Because this is more his moral compass is like probably going, what the hell do I do here? But do I protect my family? Do I actually let this? You know, the guy who's caused all this is done now. So is it really justice?
And two, the sheriff's like, it would be a sin to, throw this on this guy that's been locked up pretty much his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting the parallel there because, in 12 Angry Men, the most racist and culturally insensitive statements in that movie, 12 Angry Men, was, they're all violent. They're all stupid. They all can't be trusted. And the same thing goes for Boo in this. He stabbed somebody before. He stabbed an older person before. It's like, why are we even bringing this to court? This guy is obviously a monster. Just lock him up or shoot him, whatever, and move on.
Yep.
So it's weird. It's this predestination for our assumptions about certain members of our society. But the law says otherwise. No, you gotta run this through the ringer, even if we feel it in our bones that it's not true. You still got to run it through the ringer anyway because laws. Otherwise, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Atticus is all about in this film. It's like it doesn't matter at all. These are the laws. This is what we do. We're a society, not a mob.
And I love. They're like, and what's his name? He fell on his own knife.
Bobby Will.
Wrong Duvall movie, Copa.
Oh, right. Yes, that's true. Yes, it was. Yep. I love the smell of steak knives in my neighbor.
God.
And there
Does
it is.
Universal still own the rights to this? Does
Not
anyone
for
know?
much longer. Who knows?
I don't know.
I believe they do.
Mm-hmm. It's a shame that this has not gotten a. I know why, but
A
I'm
remake?
putting, yeah, not a remake, but I would like to see a more proper adaptation of this. That's all.
You won't get it now.
No, no.
Which
No.
is this is the unfortunate part, right? Is that this is literally one of the most important, or not, I'm maybe not important, but most iconic pieces
It's
of
important.
Western literature, and nobody wants to do anything with it because of
Yeah.
racism.
It would go too far the other way these days. It would just be for the wrong. Yeah. It would be
Yeah, I
taken
mean,
out of context here. Yeah.
It's
I was watching a video by the Anti-Racist Academy on YouTube on
Cool.
this movie.
the anti-racist racists.
Whatever. And the person giving it was a woman named Brandy Blocker Anderson. Okay.
She a
Oh.
porn star?
That's her name. That's her real name. Brandy Blocker Anderson.
Cool.
Anderson as in Mr. Anderson, like you're an activist and a rebel. So bizarre. And the first words out of her mouth basically
Fish no
were,
country.
nobody should be putting this into classrooms unless the story is completely retextualized. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like,
Did she read it at all?
who the heck knows? She's reading from a teleprompter and smiling permanently. Who the hell knows what she thinks? You know, I can't trust any of that nonsense. She labels herself as a triple activist because she's a mother and a teacher. It's like, whatever, girl.
What?
I don't even know what to say. It's like so bizarre. It's,
Most teachers and most mothers are fucking idiots. So
Oh my God, she
Language.
did it again.
sorry.
You're
God.
out of here. No, I'm kidding.
Get up.
At least it's at the end.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jacob. I'm sorry. I'm a potty mouth by nature.
Well, that's
I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah, we all are, but you know what? I'm just kidding. Poor Vex. This is why I do Rumble streams.
Why is Steven
Oh.
Tom Robinson? Hold on.
wait, am I Tom Robinson? Where am I Tom Robinson?
Wait, I'm Boo. I'm Boo Radley because I'm giant and I'm weird, awkward. So I guess I'm Boo Radley.
So,
I don't leave gifts in trees.
Gregory Peck or Clark Gable?
Oh, I gotta go.
I don't know how to
Peck. I
Google.
I
that's a
think
tough
Gregory
one.
Peck.
I'd say
Yeah.
Peck because he
Yeah.
has my real name, so I'll take Gregory Peck.
Gregory
me
Peck
too.
because it, whatchamacallit, the guns in Navarone. Period. End of
Oh,
sentence. Full
yeah,
stop.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite war films. That one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
Great espionage movie.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta watch more of his stuff. I haven't seen
You would like a
Gregory
lot of
Peck
his
in
movies.
anything else. So
Watch the one
He's
that
haven't seen him in anything, so.
Jacob suggested earlier.
The Big Country.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A lot of high tea in that movie.
We got some.
She's like,
I mean,
high
he
E.
gets into a fist fight with Charlton Heston in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good
Yes.
You know it.
It's a great movie.
You know it. Oh my God, when he reprimands David Niven, it's just probably some of the best commander lines ever. It's like, you're in it now, up to your neck.
mhm.
You got me in the mood to use this thing, and by gum, you don't start doing something, I'm going to use it on you. Fantastic, powerful stuff. Loved it.
Yeah.
Anthony Quinn
Great
as the
actor.
Greek, the Greek warrior
Yeah.
from the rebellion in Greece. Absolutely just priceless. Every role, so good. Bobby Darin is in that.
Good cast.
Dex is like, who?
The name sounds familiar, but I haven't seen the movie, so I can't comment. I cannot comment.
Now, what movie is that?
The Guns of Navarone.
Oh, man, it's
Yes.
so good.
Yes. Guns of Navarone.
Right around the same time period, when they were doing that whole, we're going to do black and white because it's appropriate, or we're going to do color because it's appropriate.
Mhm.
That whole period, like 52 to 63, where it's
Mhm.
like it could be color, it could be black and white. Nobody seems to care one way or the other. it wasn't a production thing. It wasn't a technology thing. It's just some films were and some films weren't. You can't
And
tell.
the
Guns of Navarone is from the same time period that this was. Gregory Peck
The
was around the
sequel.
same age.
the sequel to this has what's his name? Harrison Ford in it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I don't need to see it then.
No.
No.
I'm sorry. Harrison Ford is cute, but he's not that great of an actor for me to just
No,
forgive it on
no.
cuteness. Yes, Lawrence of Arabia,
Yeah, Lawrence of Arabia.
Where the Eagles Stare, also good stuff. But,
Some good movies, man.
Yeah, yeah. The Great Escape,
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Dirty Dozen.
mm-hmm.
A lot of
Yeah,
good
the
stuff.
60s war films when they started discussing the war without pulling any punches. That was when it got
Yeah.
really fun.
Mhm.
Without any, patriotic hoorah movies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Really got some really good war movies there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. What are we doing in this picture? Well, we're going to go over to the enemy lines. We're going to cross over into enemy territory, and then we're going to rob a bank. It's like, woohoo!
Let's do
That
it.
guy running the tank is a beatnik from college.
Yeah.
Ooh, Kelly's
Old,
Heroes.
what's his
Yeah,
name?
exactly.
Kojak.
It's a good call, Copa.
Nosferatu, I'm on your side. I want to review a version of that movie as well.
Just wait for the new one that's coming out.
Which
No,
Yeah.
we can. Yeah, they're remaking Nosferatu with There's a
Robert Eggers.
yeah. I think it'll actually be decent.
It's his favorite movie of all time. So
I think they'll do a good job on
I
it.
mean, the Northman was good. So we'll see if he's true.
Bill Skarsgård is
Northman.
Count Orlok as well, which I think is a good choice. So
It's a good call there. Yeah.
yeah, I think it'll be a stellar adaptation. Personally,
I have not seen anything about that.
Yeah, I think it's coming out next year.
they're still in filming, if I remember
Okay.
correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
Yeah.
So we haven't even gotten a trailer yet for it.
Eventually.
Mhm.
Rio Bravo. Interesting thing about Rio Bravo. It's a response to High Noon.
Is it?
The director for High Noon was a communist. And
Really?
it showed how Americans don't, stand together, and fight, and because in High Noon everybody abandons him, to
Yep.
to fight. So John Wayne is like, no, we got to make a better movie here. So they made Rio Bravo about a year later.
The more you
Interesting.
know.
Well, there's also
How
that
did you get
movie,
that
Liberty Valance, right?
Yeah.
I think about that does a very similar thing too, where like nobody's cooperating with the law because they'd rather celebrate this guy because this guy, although he's violent, if you buy him a few drinks and you get him happy and you leave him happy, he's not really going to hurt too many people.
Right.
It's kind of this weird, apathetic, middle of the road nonsense.
It's true.
Which seems to be working very well for us these days. So,
Oh yeah, it's doing wonders.
yeah. Just let them do what they want.
So-
What's the problem? What's the problem?
No repercussions. No.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
So, only a few
So-
colleges and an economy.
Anybody have any last thoughts on this movie?
I love this movie.
It's
Yeah.
it's just fantastic. It's like Vex said, it's probably one of the best adaptations from book to film, and I been doing a lot of going back and watching these older movies, like 12 Angry Men recently, and then this, and then it's like you just forget. We're in a time period, and people just forget about these older movies, and the younger generation, they have no clue what these films were, and it's sad. And they never they're too busy watching TikTok and not worried about actual.
This is
Good
a sad
content.
thing. Is like a film like this is not so different in my opinion at least, to what was being produced in like the 90s and early 2000s. And that's not by any means a very long ago movie period,
No.
period
No.
of film.
No.
So it's like kids can't even sit through that, and by comparison, that's fast storytelling.
And we have crap
Really
movies
sad.
now with
Yeah.
garbage storytelling now, and these kids are just tuned into that. They don't understand. Like
Well,
you said,
they're
it's a
on their
15.
cell phones.
Yeah, they're on a 15 watching 15-second clips, and they can't even really tell you what the hell they saw because they don't pay attention to anything, and they're not going to sit through a movie like this. They're not going to understand it. It's
I think
unfortunate.
there should be an age for smartphones.
I agree.
Personally,
I agree too.
Yeah, who knows? We'll
Like
have to
that's gonna
see.
happen.
We'll have to
Some
see.
adults shouldn't have smartphones. Never mind
Yeah.
kids.
That's true.
So, yeah, I agree.
I think we're at a point where there should be an age for the internet, even, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of restrictive regulation is not going to work in the near future. I
No.
think the model that they're going with nowadays is put everything out in beta and we'll write regulations after the fact. After a few deaths,
Right, yeah.
after a few political scenarios, after a few parental groups completely have their minds blown, we'll figure this out afterwards. But if you start restricting people, then you're
Mhm.
building angst automatically.
Yeah,
You're
right.
you're building
Lose-lose.
angst for no reason because it's
Yeah.
like we don't know if they're going to jump off a cliff with this. Maybe we should just let them. Let's see if it
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let all the
Let's
leashes loose.
also
let all the collars
let's
off.
remove safety labels off things.
Yeah.
I mean, come
That
on.
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a mess.
we're so ate up with all these safety labels on everything. There's no safety label on the internet.
Well, it's just like kids
true.
these days do not have, I guess we'll say, the intellectual capacity to understand what it is that they're absorbing on the internet, which is the biggest reason why I feel
Right.
an age restriction is good.
Yeah.
If they actually understood what they were doing, then I would say,
Well,
use
yeah.
the internet as much as
Yeah.
you want. But they
They're
don't.
doing a great
sadly, the age restriction is going to be probably wind up being blind. The person using the device, in much the same way that we no longer get notifications about time change during during daylight
Yeah.
savings, the
Mhm.
phone just automatically changes the time.
Yep.
Right? I think we're going to see a lot more of that when the child or person enters in all of their personal information. There'll be a background computer continuously filtering what they can and can't watch, but
Yeah.
they won't know that they're being restricted.
Yep.
Which is kind of what we're
Nobody
already
will,
experiencing,
because it
right?
will be AI.
I go onto Twitter and images are hidden because Twitter thinks they might be shocking, and so we're already experiencing that kind of, I guess you could call it breaking or throttling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, don't worry. ChatGPT is going to take over
So-
the world soon. So,
Now, okay, people. Let's
All right, Jacob.
close out here.
sure.
Anybody have anything coming up? Bex, you got anything?
Oh God. How long do you have?
Just follow me on Twitter at Vex Electronica. I'm sorry my energy was not here today. My head is absolutely killing me.
Great.
You were good.
But
Yeah,
thank you.
I think or if I don't have everybody's information in the down below, it will be there. But you can find these people. They're on YouTube, Twitter.
Sorry,
Yes.
Nas's comment there.
I know he's killing me with his 3 F-bombs, Shield Wall.
Actually,
3.
I dropped 5
Oh,
F.
5. Oh God, I'm off.
Oh, I missed 2. Darn.
You come watch our Monday show. We lose count. So
I think I got someone demonetized last week.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Because that one stream got demonetized. So this is what you deal with
sounds about right.
Yep.
Hysterical.
when I'm on my game.
Mhm.
But yeah, just follow me on Twitter. And then Vex_Electronica on YouTube. On YouTube. There we go.
That one place I'm always on. Yeah.
Yeah, the one place I'm on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for having me on, Jacob. I'm actually
yeah.
really glad that somebody else wants to actually talk about this movie and actually appreciates this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like even just if you take the novel aspect out of it, just as a piece of cinema, it's stunning.
Yeah.
So
Very true.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's two of the best courtroom dramas, in my opinion, is this movie and 12 Angry Men.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ironically, focusing in separate rooms.
Mm.
Both bottle pictures, but one's in the court and the other one's in the jury room. It's really kind of fascinating that they're such encapsulated storylines as well.
Oh yeah.
This one takes place in the perception of children, and the other one takes place in the jury room of men.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really great
Yeah.
stuff. They knew what they were doing back then. Keep that camera tight on your narrative. Don't go wandering about the hallways. You know,
Don't go,
keep that
what's
narrative
this
tight.
person's story over here? Let's spend an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
It's like,
What's
oh, point the camera out the window and see an argument with the hot dog stand guy. It's like, why are we doing this?
It's I like to see it as a dog,
Mhm.
and he sees a squirrel. Oh, squirrel! It's like,
Yep.
no, pay
So
attention, dog. Pay attention.
Mhm.
Steven, what do you have coming up?
Hey, you know what? I'm not going to be. I know Roman's doing a whole thing on Thursday with wrapping up the Mandalorian crisis. I mean, series. So they're going to be doing like an overview, kind of like a big watch party. There's going to be some heavy hitters over there. I'll be in the chat, but I got nothing to say on that show. It's like only brave souls watch that show live in real time, and I'm just not brave enough. But that should be going on. I don't know, this week, not much on the docket. This was the big event of the week for me. And I got to tell you, the more I think about this film, the more that opening sequence of just charcoal scrubbing over the impression of To Kill a Mockingbird
Mm-hmm.
is just such a deeply layered, like beatnik, early 60s intellectual highbrow silliness. Like you think about how visually that it's a detective story. We're going to rub the pad and see what the detective pad reveals, right?
Like fingerprints as well.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's also rubbing over white paper with black to reveal the white letters of To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean, it's like, oh, wow, groovy, man. This is so awesome. You nailed it, dude. You know, it seems a little cheesy, but back then that must have been so visually intriguing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And so just the charcoal on the paper, too, all that pulp, you could see every grain of it. It's just gratification. It's YouTube channels have been made of just people drawing charcoal. But yeah, great stuff. Just great stuff.
I have
Sorry, Vex. Am I tickling you deeply with all of this?
No, I'm looking at the chat and it's quite disturbing.
Yeah, very
how
weird.
Baby Cecilia was conceived.
Nice.
Apparently in a cabin with we're sick
Goodness.
people.
Man.
Thank you for having me
So-
on, Jacob.
Mhm.
Yeah. Always.
I like
a
being
pleasure
on
having you on.
panels with you, Mr. Ransom. You're a delight to be around, unlike Cannoli here.
Hey, listen, you don't have to keep coming back. You feel bad for me. That's why you do.
I'm your money maker now.
Apparently.
A trivia
so-
maker, from what I understand as well.
Yes, she is. She is the trivia goddess.
Kenobi,
I love that. I love
Yeah,
it.
that was
hey,
great.
in this small group of people, there are some people with a bunch of knowledge that helps, talk about movies and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And not just movies, but social stuff going on.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
So Cannoli, what do you got coming? Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're okay. Vex is dying from the chat.
I'm just looking at Doss's last comment there.
I know. This guy. Let's see. What do I have? What do I have? Oh, Friday. I have Cannoli Connection back with Mrs. CannoliSasquatch. We've got a guest on, the Gamer Geek, who's from Canada, eh? So he talks about everything from games to pop culture and to politics. So that'll be a great conversation with him.
Yeah. Sounds like fun.
And then Monday on our MMM show with this lovely lady, Copa and White Bear, we're doing True Lies, and it's Copa's send-off for a while because he's going to be taking time off for the baby, of course. And then I'll be in Vegas next week for the FNT meetup. And I know Roman's going to be there and some other YouTubers. So Mrs. C and I probably will do a live stream at some point from Vegas, just kind of updating everybody. And that's basically it. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter, go on my community page on YouTube, look everything there. Unlike Vex, I'm not on 17 shows though. So.
Cannoli, when you mentioned True Lies, the first scene that popped in my head was Arnold Schwarzenegger chewing the horse out for not jumping.
You could have made it.
What is wrong with you?
There'll be a lot of bad Arnold impersonations going on
yeah.
Monday. It's going to be a
Look at me when I'm
Really a fun
talking to
show.
you. Don't run
Yeah.
away.
You're fired.
Thinking.
It's going to be great.
And you call yourself a police horse.
Yeah, Roman's right. You got 2 Italian men going to Vegas. It's going to be like the old days with Sinatra, buddy.
Gonna bury some bodies in the desert and whatnot.
Like Pesci did.
Nice, very nice.
A lot of bodies in the trunk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, next week I'm going to be doing The Mummy.
Which one?
Wow.
With the original.
The new one, the newer one, the 99,
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
99 Brendan Fraser one.
Oh, who you got on that panel for that
I
one?
love that movie. Yeah,
It's a great movie.
Pencil
work
me in
on
for
that.
that one.
panel.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be up for that.
All right.
I kind of want to be in on that one.
Yeah.
Well, they're good. Got two people on that one already.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, that's
It's a good movie. It's underrated.
Yeah,
it changed the
stands
way
up,
action. Yeah, it does still hold up.
Even the sequel wasn't terrible.
I don't think the sequel was terrible.
I
at
mean,
all.
besides the crappy
Except for The Rock.
CGI. Yeah,
The
but
Rock,
it was
you know.
it was a good movie. Those 2 movies are very, very underrated.
When you have The Rock in a movie, you better have some wrestling in it. Come on.
I
He
agree.
wrestled like a fucking.
Oh my God!
Oh.
6 times.
He wrestled a light candlestick thingy from
Okay.
his
Okay.
hands in the second one. I don't know if that counts. And
That's
then he
the
snapped
weird-
it with his crab claws. So
Crab claws.
horrible CGI, but
And
otherwise
yes.
ages beautifully.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Practical effects never age.
I recently went, or the last time I was in Florida, I went on the Mummy ride finally down there. It's actually
nice.
a very fun ride at Universal Studios. And they had filmed like a little segment of the actors on the set, like pretending that there's a mummy curse on the set to play while you're waiting. It was a good time. It was a good time.
That's cool.
They're revamping that ride now, though, apparently. So,
Yeah, it was Brendan Fraser at his best.
It's a perfect movie for him. Didn't have to do too much action. It's just a good adventure.
They did Han Solo and Princess Leia better than Harrison and Carrie Fisher, in my opinion. I mean, those two,
Yeah.
Wow.
their
Yeah.
chemistry on screen as scoundrel versus prim and proper librarian girl, absolutely priceless. It's so good, so well executed. Tongue never comes out of cheek, but everybody's still serious about the show, right? Nobody's taking this as a joke. Action is real. The stakes are all real, and yet the action is like, oh, you're not taking this too seriously, are you, audience? Don't worry. I'm Brendan Fraser, and we're all actors over here, okay? Sit back, enjoy yourself, have a good time. Popcorn stand is down the aisle.
Exactly
it's like
what it was.
just straight up American fun. Just
Pure
classic.
entertainment.
Yep.
Yep.
Good
I
one.
mean, side-scrolling action, some of those chase sequences where like the zombies are all chasing them down the street in Egypt.
That was
Just
great.
classic stuff, man. It's great.
Yep.
Great movie.
Good movie.
The biplane too.
Oh,
yeah.
And he just wants to die, that guy. He's just like, can I go out in glory? You mind if I join you guys for a little bit of glory?
He's like, I'm coming, boys. I'm coming to meet all his
That's right.
airplane
You've
buddies.
never seen The Mummy, Jana? Are you joking right now?
What?
Oh, Copa. Come on, you got
You
time.
have research. You have research to do this
Homework.
week, Hannah.
Mhm. You'll love Brandon Fraser, Jana. I'm pretty sure you
Jan's
will
got
adore
Brendan
him.
Fraser.
Hold
He's
on, hold on.
very
Maybe
cute.
it's a different version of the Mummy she's talking about.
Maybe.
Well,
Are
what
you
other
talking about the
version-
old one, Jan?
Well, there's the
Oh,
the really old one, and then there's the Brendan Fraser ones, and there's that horrible Tom Cruise one that we got a couple
Yeah.
years ago.
Oh, that was
Actually,
so
so-
bad.
For the what was it? Oh no, it was something else. But it was the old Frankenstein. You know, with what's his name, Boris Karloff, which
She's
played
seen
the
no
mummy.
version.
Jana. Oh my God.
Hold on.
Copa.
Oh,
Copa
man.
might
Get on.
be covering. Hold on.
All right, let's not shame people's cinematic knowledge.
She's
Let's not
trying to
do
be.
that.
She's trying to be cool. Oh, she's like, I have. I guess it's time for a rewatch.
Yes.
Baby,
Yes.
yeah.
Just do it anyway.
Absolutely classic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Copa's just covering
guys,
for her.
Thanks for coming on. I'm glad y'all all
Of
could
course,
make
dude.
it.
Thank you.
I'm thanks to Vex for being a trooper and with the bright light in her face with a migraine.
Yeah, she's used to it.
Ow.
There we go.
There you go. Relief,
Ah.
sweet relief.
I was born in the darkness.
I was born now.
I am the darkness.
I am the darkness.
Thanks to the chat for showing up. Actually, Cannoli, your dad showed up
Yes.
Yeah.
early on, so that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
Yes, we had some of the cannoli in the audience.
Yeah.
that's for sure.
The cannoli mafia family in the.
Well, y'all, thanks to the chat for hanging in there and watching and going through this with us. And everybody have a good week. And I'm just gonna end it. Everybody wave everybody. Bye. Bye.
See ya.